Okay, let's roast some coffee in a popcorn popper. All right, I have approximately 130 grams, or about 3/4 of a cup of pea berry green coffee beans, and a popcorn popper. The first thing you're going to want to do is take the butter tray off the top of the popcorn popper. You want that air to come straight up and not shoot your beans out before you want to. We're also going to let it heat up, which is going to be loud and obnoxious. All right. You're going to want something to stir it with. You can use a chopstick. I've just got an old marshmallow fork because we're outside. And here's the other key thing. Do this outside. It will become readily apparent why as soon as we start. Okay? So, pea berries. Now, it doesn't matter how careful you are going to get some uneven roasting. You're going to want to keep stirring this, worrying this, however you want to call it, as it's heating up, because you don't want the ones on the bottom to burn. Do you notice I'm already getting little flaky bits coming out, and you can also already start hearing it crack. If any of them fall out, just put them back in the top. And what you're listening for is for the beans to start cracking and popping. They're going to sound a little bit like popcorn, but obviously not going to be as visually exciting as that. And this process is going to go on for several minutes. I'm probably going to let this thing go for 6 to 7 minutes total on the heat before I pull them. I'm going to lift up and look down in so you can see it's already got a color change going on. That's going to continue, and they're going to be uneven. And we're starting to get to a point where the beans are light enough that they're actually starting to move around on their own and starting to shift around inside of the heating area. As you can see, I'm already getting all sorts of... This is just fluff. You don't want this. Get rid of it. Okay, we're 5 minutes into this video, which means we're about maybe 3 minutes or so into the actual roasting, and things are going well. I don't know if you can hear this, but we're starting to get some pretty severe crack. And as you can see, they are drying out enough that they're starting to move around on their own. And you'll see how uneven there are. There's some very light ones and some very dark ones. This is an excellent example of why you need to make sure they keep moving at the beginning part, because the ones on the bottom are going to burn pretty quick. Okay, so the last time that I did these peaberry ones, I roasted them for over 7 minutes, and I still thought that they were a little light. They're gonna look a lot darker than some of the stuff maybe you buy at the coffee shop that's more evenly roasted. You're gonna have some that are very dark, and you're gonna have some that are still very light. And you're trying to hit that middle zone so that the average roast on your beans is about what you would like to drink normally. I'm shooting for like a light to medium city roast, so I'm actually gonna let these go for a while. I don't know if you can see how dark this is. Oh crap, I dropped it. Anyway, they're starting to get kind of dark, some of them, but we're also getting enough moisture out of the bean that they're lightening up, and they're all starting to bubble around inside of there. Okay, these have been roasting for just a little over 5, maybe almost 6 minutes. I'm gonna let them go a little bit longer. I did actually preheat the popcorn popper before we started, and also we're not doing this when it's winter, and that made a lot of difference. Last time I did this, it was only like 40 degrees outside. Okay, once again, we're gonna look down into the maw. You see how they're kind of shifting around? They're starting to get kind of dark, but some of them are still kind of light. Okay, we're getting to the point where there are still a couple of very light colored beans in the mix, but where some of them are getting rather dark. So I'm gonna go ahead and dump them out. Okay, now we have a bunch of beans. We're just gonna kind of flip them about a little bit. We're trying to make sure that we don't have any more of that chaff still in there. And these are pretty clean, actually. So at this point, we've got I would call a medium roast, maybe. There are some darker ones in there, but overall, I think the average here is probably going to be about a medium city roast, maybe a little bit lighter. And they're, like I said, these are going to look darker than what you would get for an equivalent roast at somebody who knows what they're doing. So I've been letting them go a little bit longer. If you look at the number of minutes that we were actually in there, I'm looking at probably about 7.5, maybe 8 minutes. I don't think we're even that long. And that was plenty for this. And as you saw, all of this chaff everywhere, that is why you want to do this outside, because it makes a hell of a mess. And if you're inside of a kitchen that doesn't have like a breeze coming across, all of that material gets sucked into the intake of the popcorn popper, and then you end up with a possible fire hazard from that shaft getting pulled in and going through the heating unit. So yeah, do this outside. I don't know if you can hear. Well, I can hear it. It's still kind of popping and cracking a little bit as it's cooling down. So I will let these completely cool, and then I will place them in a little paper bag and label them, and I will wait. Do not brew with these beans for at least a day. 2 or 3 days would be better. They need time to kind of like settle down a bit. There's still a lot going on inside of those, chemically speaking, and you want to make sure that they have the best chance to give you the best flavor. And like I said, as soon as you feel comfortable like picking these up, if they're not like hot anymore, like these are still kind of like, I don't really want to hold these are that hot. But as soon as they're cool enough to put in a bag, put them in a bag, roll the top over, seal it. They don't have to be airtight, but it's better if they're letting CO2 out and not letting oxygen in. So just a little bit of a seal on the top of a paper bag or a bit of a lined bag would be enough. And then in a couple days, you can grind this and have some wonderful coffee.